Good morning, activists. Welcome to Sunday Brunch with the Accidental Activists. I am Chanda, the serious blonde. Today, we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to introduce a new format that I want to try out, which is correspondence on the ground around the country. We have a lot of amazing people that we've met over the years, and so they're boots on the ground, and we're waiting for Hunter Boyce, who I interviewed last week, who is in Minneapolis, who was at the third precinct, and he actually pulled somebody out of the fire. And so we're just going to kill a little time, wait for him to come in. He's live on the ground in Minneapolis from a protest, and hopefully he'll be coming in soon. Uh, hey, chat. I see a couple of you in there. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody this Sunday? And of course, we have the man behind the curtain, the engineer of the Accidental Activist, Oz LaFave. Good
Hey
morning,
there,
Oz.
how you doing there, Shanda like chandelier?
You
I,
know how it
I
is.
don't see anybody in chat. Who's in chat?
I don't know. It says there's 5 in there.
Oh, good, 5 in there.
Somebody say hi.
Somebody say hi.
Somebody
And
say
I am
hi.
monitoring Rockfin right now, and
Oh yeah.
we've got people that are starting to come into there. I
We
hope.
are live on Rockfin. Well, since we're trying to kill a little time, I got a few stories to tell.
Okay.
So anybody who's watched this last week, we had an incident in my tiny little county. We had a gun shop owner just up the road from my house, who was actually in my precinct, who took to Facebook Live a couple of days ago to call all patriots to come out toting their guns because Antifa was coming in by the busloads. And I live 3 hours away from pretty much any major city. So it was weird. I went into town. There was protesters. There was people with guns. There was cops everywhere. And I didn't participate in actually that rally that day. My daughter did. And as I was leaving town, I picked a bus up in front of me, and we had to keep pulling over because there was so many cops coming in with lights. And this bus was an older white bus and had been turned into probably a camping type of vehicle. And they had some buses on the back, or some bikes on the back. And I didn't think much of it. So later on that night, I start hearing that there's a family out in Forks. They said, well, first I heard there was buses of Antifa camping out in Forks. Now, Forks is the Olympic National Rainforest. That is where Twilight takes place. It's the middle of nowhere, really. And so what happened was is locals had heard this patriots cry, and they went out there and they cut trees down and laid them across the road and literally trapped this poor family from Spokane into the campground, wouldn't let them leave because they thought they were Antifa. And this was an interracial couple with a 16-year-old daughter and a mother with them. They came to our Olympic Peninsula to camp because that's what we're known for, is our beautiful forests and mountains and rivers and oceans and sounds. And these poor people were accosted by the redneck nation out here. And finally some high school kids had heard what was happening and went down there and had cut the logs up to remove them and let this family escape. And so now there is an outcry in my community to have these people arrested or charged. If you yell fire in a crowded theater, you could potentially danger somebody, right? So I think it's kind of the same concept. He knew when he took to Facebook and riled up all these people as a gun shop owner that he could potentially have harmed somebody. So I'm sure some of you guys are seeing that story in the news. It is a national story. I just want to tell you that I know all about it, and I'm here fighting on it. We're still waiting on Hunter, it looks like. So I don't know, maybe we'll roll into a clip, Oz. What do you think?
Which clip are we going to look at here, Shanda?
Well, since we're talking about protesters, since that's the theme of the week, let's do the first one.
All right. A little backstory on this clip, possibly?
Yeah, a little backstory. So I came across this clip. It's not a story I've seen anybody else really covering. Apparently, 2 guys in Boston were turned over by peaceful protesters to the Boston police. And it turns out they had a stash of weapons and they had intent on using it at these protests.
Okay. Let's see. Tell me if you can hear it, and we'll let her fly.
New York police insisting from the get-go that many of the violent and looting demonstrators are the small sliver of a minority of people in the streets during these protests. And tonight, they offer Exhibit A, weapons brought by two men in a car from Ohio into New York. Two men who cops say wanted to cause chaos. Eyewitness News reporter N.J. Burkett with the story. He's live in downtown Brooklyn. Newt?
Right, Bill, outside the 84th precinct here in Brooklyn, where the car was impounded and the evidence was cataloged. What evidence? Knives and swords, gasoline, bricks, and two-way radios. And the tipsters? Take a guess.
Justice! Now!
It was actually protesters marching in the streets who called police. The driver of this car with Ohio plates, spotted with a machete, blocks from a demonstration.
They said, "This not right, something's wrong with this picture."
Captain Melody Robinson says officers quickly tracked down the car and approached the driver and his passenger, who surrendered without incident. But a search of the car left them stunned. A cache of weapons and tools to carry out an attack.
Different types of knives and weapons, point-to-point radios, gas masks, all types of different things that you won't bring to a peaceful protest.
Investigators are trying to determine whether the two men took part in any of this week's demonstrations, or whether they played a role in orchestrating the violence that gripped this city for 5 straight nights. Specifically, the attacks that left dozens of New York City police officers injured. Tonight, authorities are praising the demonstrators who came forward in an act that is not unlike many we have seen in recent days.
These are people who live in public housing!
Protesters protecting lives, property, and the cause itself.
I commend the peaceful protesters that actually saw something and they said something. We need more of that in the city so we could come together as one. They definitely saved lives.
Well, the suspects are identified by police as 36-year-old Aaron Evanshine of Ohio and 24-year-old Brian Contreras of Brooklyn. Both are charged with weapons possession, but this investigation is not over tonight.
Okay, so the whole point of me showing this is, brothers and sisters, if you're out on the front lines, look for those provocateurs, look for those agitators, and turn their asses over. We are peaceful protesters, but we have Hunter Boyce live from Minneapolis. He just logged in. So, wow, that looks like a pretty big protest. We're going to see if we can get him framed in.
Okay, let's get him framed in, see if we got him here.
Get him. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, there he is. Let's see if we can keep his stream stable. Okay, and let's go back to that story you just played later if we have time.
Yeah, no, we will.
Okay. Hey, Hunter, can we hear you?
Hey, guys, how you doing? I can hear you just fine.
There you go, Chanda, you're set.
Hey, Hunter, thanks so much for joining us. I see you're down at the vigil. You want to give us kind of a breakdown of what's going on down there?
I am indeed. At this point, the protest has become more of a longevity occupation of the street. The street here is blocked off. There are basketball hoops. I'll give you guys a quick little view around. You see there are a bunch of places where they're making food. There are, media and stuff like that pretty much everywhere. This vigil has grown every day that I've been out here to the size that it is now. And
can you let people know in relation to how close you are to where George Floyd was murdered and just kind of where you're at so they get a sense of where you're at?
The spot where you actually see all of these flowers, this is the actual location. The mural was painted on the wall of the building that he was in front of when he was murdered.
Wow. So what's the vibe down there like?
Location. It's I wasn't around for the 60s, the movement of peace and love, but, everything that my elders have been describing to me about that time is kind of revitalized here.
I totally feel you.
Love and respect. And, if anybody's seen out here doing anything inappropriate, I mean, they're immediately confronted and turned in. And, we're not having any of that rioting, kind of outrage stuff that was happening at the beginning of the protest anymore. And as you can see, there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people.
Yes, we were just talking about that. If you see provocateurs in any of these protests, you turn their asses over.
Yeah, at this point, I don't even think they exist. I think that's more like a boogeyman for the Trumpsters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And we're seeing that fear spreading across the country generated by them. So yesterday we saw the same area. They chanted, "Go home, Jacob, go home," about the mayor. Did you happen to be down there? Or?
No, I wasn't around for that, but a lot of my friends were involved in that. And there's a lot of petitions going around in this crowd right now for the leadership that's in charge of the police department and the governor and the people who let the people down to resign. Booth after booth after booth has petitions on top of it, trying to get X amount of thousands of signatures, and they're doing very well.
Wow, we're doing the same thing in Seattle. We want to see the mayor of Seattle removed for all of the tear gas and illegal things that we've seen our police doing, the covering their badge numbers, turning their body cams off, all of this during, peaceful protests. So I was going to ask, you guys are pushing to abolish the police altogether and have a peace force, right?
Correct. That's pretty much what people have been talking about, because the institution that is the police as it currently is a broken and racist and biased institution, like a fellowship, a brotherhood where they all protect each other's crimes. And it's gone to the point where if you can't trust the police, you need something other than the police. So that's where Minnesota's at right now.
Exactly. And we're keeping an eye on that. We want to watch you guys be the first to implement something like that, especially with some kind of citizen oversight groups that are, paying attention.
Right. Exactly. And we're well on our way to making that kind of change happen. I don't see anybody out here who is, being antagonistic. I don't see any crimes or Antifa or anything like that going on. What I see is just thousands upon thousands of people coming together to try to make real change happen in this state for once.
It takes all of us to make change, and we know that, being in the progressive movement for so long. So you got anybody you want to talk to down there? Or
I mean, I've got lots of people around. There are a few more guys if you want me to come back a little later. I've got a couple of people who are doing some interviews now that agreed to speak to me.
Okay.
So I can come back in with them a little later if you'd like.
Yeah, we can do it that way. Yeah. So you go ahead and just wander around, catch what you want to catch, and then just come back in and we'll frame you back in.
All right. Sounds good. I'll stay on while I'm here, and then you guys just keep doing what you're doing. And when my people get here and they're done with their thing, I'll come back to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hunter. And we're so excited to have you on the ground with us as a new correspondent for the Accidental Activists.
Hey, thank you for having me. And, power to the people.
Power to the people. Well, as you know, it's awesome to see these incredibly peaceful protests happening. And they actually have actions that they're doing by trying to remove these corrupt politicians and people that hold power in their communities. And we see action by, the changes that they're trying to implement. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is quite incredible. I'm setting cams up for everybody in the audience, or anybody that's viewing this later. We're kind of switching things up at Uphill Media, and we're getting better at what we do. So if you have any suggestions on how we go about doing things, please send them to Uphill Media. That's video at uphillmedia.org, and that should be in the rundown soon. Can we jump back to your earlier report about the two cops, the men from Ohio armed with weapons?
Yeah, please do.
What kind of weapons? What is this? What is a Sawzall? What kind of weapon is that? I mean, I was looking at those weapons. I'm going to try and chunk it back. So
knives. Yeah, go ahead and try to go back and look at that table of weapons.
Look at that table of weapons. I'm just, sure, okay, gasoline, rubbing alcohol, a machete, walkie-talkies. I mean, I know, I know guys, contractors. You have this kind of stuff in here. I don't know. When they say weapons, I think of AKs or sniper rifles or even long guns or something. But I see screwdrivers and knives and things like that.
Well, they're easier to conceal if you're walking through a crowd. And I mean, we see a couple of very pointy, like screwdrivers or, you know, almost like an ice pick looking thing. How easy is it to jab somebody in the kidney and shank them when you're walking through a big crowd?
Well, you're good point there. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm looking at it's me again. It's Oz. He looks at all this stuff and he's going, really? You know, you're going to go out there and you're going to, this to me looks like it's kind of loaded at one end. I'm not saying this doesn't happen.
No, please give me your opinion. Do you think the cops just took a bunch of stuff out of their car and said, oh, this, because we see that happen all over our country. Like, you know.
I mean, half of that stuff you're going to find in my car. And I see the cell phones down there. Let me see if I can get this out of the way. The cell phones at the bottom, are they suggesting that those cell phones are timers for bombs or something? Or what is that?
Sorry, I'm being trolled.
Well, congratulations. Wear it as a badge of honor. I'm not trying to make excuses for these would-be criminals or these, you know, whoever
No, I
are.
know you're not. And I see what you're saying. You know, it's just like what we saw last night in Seattle's protest on Capitol Hill, the incendiary devices, you know, the gas, the rubbing alcohol. You know, somebody threw a prayer candle, you know, the Catholic prayer candles at the cops. And as soon as that candle hit the ground, they unleashed on them. So it just, anything can be weaponized, anything. So can you blame the cops even if these things were just tools left in their car?
No, I can't blame them. I wouldn't blame them. It's just suspect. It's just one more point that I would really consider looking at. But again, you know, it is what it is, right? Or maybe not. I've got Hunter in the frame down there just in case he wants to pop on.
Yeah, I see him kind of wandering through the crowd, seeing groups.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. But I was wondering if you'd like to do a little bit of an interview for the Accidental Activist, progressive media station, on why exactly you're trying to recall and maybe how your progress is going, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, this is cool. I mean, we got to get him a shotgun mic for his phone.
Yeah, we need to definitely get him a shotgun mic. You know, we just have all these activists on the ground.
Yeah.
Why are we not going live? I'm trying to get protests out of Denver and Chattanooga too to come on.
I'm recommending that those who do.
I mean, it doesn't really have to be anything, you know, specific. We're just kind of wondering, like, you know, what specifically, you know, you're trying to get them, who you would like to have instead, you know, just basic information like that. Okay.
We're kind of listening in on Hunter Boyce in Minneapolis right now.
Yeah, this is new territory for us. So yeah, it's cool. We can listen in. And,
sure. Yeah, I'll swing back around.
Yeah.
He's trying to get us some interviews.
Yeah, no, that's good. Keep it up, Hunter.
Oz, I gotta ask, how am I commenting in the chat if I'm not commenting in the chat?
I don't know. How are you commenting in the chat if you're not? Which chat are you in?
In my chat, it says the Accidental Activist says, "I love your name. Do really good."
And you didn't write that?
I did not write that.
Oh, you've been punked. It's not me.
Punked.
You've been punked. Oh.
I don't even know how I get punked.
Yeah, that's all right. They care about you. It's care. Yeah.
Well, at least it was loving and not hate mail, right?
Yeah. No, it's cool because, you know, as long as they say nice things, just disclaimer, that's not you. I like your heart though. That's very, very nice. And
right. No, that's not me. I don't know how they got my picture, my name, or my handle, but okay.
Like I said, we're new territory. I mean, we're on Rockfin now. We've got new shows starting up. We've got new shows that are in progress, and we were just talking before the show in the green room. Chanda, you're going to be on a lot of these shows, you know, and you're going to be a busy girl.
I am a very busy girl. I'm doing 11 shows a week now. Just trying to get you guys the news, the information, the stories that we come across. I am a social media junkie. I consume so much social media. I just have to share it with all of you.
Well, yeah. And, you know, that's a lot of us are. We're social media junkies. We're privileged in the fact that we are able to do this. But I guarantee you, none of us are wealthy people trying to come in and steer the narrative anywhere from kitchen table politics is what we're all about. So
no, I don't get paid to do this. I pay to to do this.
Yeah, she pays to do this. But what better use of your time than stepping up? And we know, with your history, that you don't just sit at home in your ivory tower on high and do this. You were actually getting out in the field for the last 4 years, particularly in 2016, and now. And this is what we need.
I've been going out. I was at the border protest at the wall. We protested the wall in Arizona, Chicago. I love to get out on the streets. I want to be out on the streets right now, but I think this is important.
I was wondering if I could interview you on specifically why you'd like him to resign, who you'd like to replace, information about the petition. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. She told me to find some guy with a shirt that said, what does his shirt say again? Recall Freeman? Recall Mike Freeman. Okay. He's somewhere between you two, I'm sure, so I'll grab him. Thank you.
Right on.
Okay, so he's actively looking for, apparently they have a PR spokesman in this group that's trying to recall their elected officials.
Yeah, we're definitely going to give him a shotgun mic.
Yeah, we do, because you can't hear the people as they get close to him.
Yeah, hi, Melissa. You never have to apologize to be late. We just love having you here.
Hi, Melissa.
Hey there. We are having a BLM visual on Tuesday night in our little white town in Vermont. Going to be recorded. Oh, shoot. We're going to follow that, please.
Absolutely, Melissa. Get some videos. We'll work it in.
If you want to run your phone, you can do some live stuff like we're doing here with Hunter. That'd be great.
Yeah. We're trying to set up more going live because we are live on the ground type of people. So we need the ability to go live.
Yeah, I'm looking into some gear that you can attach your existing smartphone to and get a shotgun mic on it for very inexpensive.
Are you seeing the photos that Hunter's sending in right now? Look at this. This is incredible.
That is incredible. Look at that. Look at that. Come on, cut over. There we go. And this is not unique to, where is he? Downtown Minneapolis or St. Paul?
I am directly outside of the Cup Foods where George was murdered. So this is the actual intersection of 38th and Chicago, I believe.
So that's where he was murdered. Wow.
Correct.
Wow.
And have you yet to hear any Democratic official really come out and make a strong statement about change that they want to implement because of this, Oz?
No, I haven't. How about you, Hunter? What's Amy Klobuchar got to say about this? Do you know?
Almost what we would expect from somebody who's Amy Klobuchar. She's more in support of the police than the people most of the time, being kind of a corporatist. But she's come out and done a few speeches at the podium, but she hasn't been down here. The people who come down here are like Jamie Foxx and, some of the more prominent African-American celebrities in support of the movement. But politicians and actual officials are few and far between. What's actually happening now, I don't know if you can see, but the planned march is returning to this location. Okay. And there are too many people to count heading this direction on Chicago coming towards here to end the march at the memorial.
Nice. There's no better energy than when one crowd meets with another crowd.
Yeah, one of our other correspondents, Suzanne Murphy, was in Boston, I believe, this morning, and it's very reminiscent what you were seeing here of Boston. So, with all of you out on the streets, we do appreciate actually being informed instead of the pablum that the mainstream corporate-owned media tries to dictate to us. So this is actually in the street reporting on what's going on. So it's not anything but what it is. It is what it is. So, wow.
Seems very peaceful.
Yeah.
I'm going to step in front of a couple people's cameras here just to give you guys a good shot. They basically drew a chalk outline of the actual literal position that George Floyd died in and roped it off with some, red carpet rope. I don't know what you call it, event rope or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is the very specific literal location of his passing, and it's a chalk outline where he is depicted as a blue angel.
Wow. Wow. So heart-wrenching. So it just invokes such emotion to see that, and to have you bring that to us, Hunter. Thank you, because we don't get a good shot of it from mainstream media. You know, they glimpse over it real fast, and that's that.
I think that's because they don't want you to be as upset as you should be.
Exactly. They don't want you to have those emotions.
Yeah, I think the Friday with the 75-year-old man being knocked down by what was that? Was it New York? Where was that?
Buffalo.
Buffalo, New York. The cop shoved him, and he did trip. He tripped backwards after being shoved, knocked his head on the ground, and blood started running out of his ear. I don't know what condition he's in, but
and the one thing that struck me about that clip, Oz, is the human aspect kicked into that cop, and he bent down. He wanted to help that old man, and the other cop behind him grabbed him and pulled him up and pushed him forward. So that right there is a prime example of how one bad apple pushes a good apple in the police force, and we end up with all bad apples.
Was he the original one that pushed him, or was he standing next to the police?
I want to say he was the guy standing next to him.
Yeah, that's the way I'm going to review it again, because, you know, we really need to look at these things and make sure we're following what we see and not elevating it or embellishing it in any other way. So again, wow.
No, we don't need to embellish. The cops are doing a bang up job as it is.
No, and the propaganda media, the MSNBSs and CNNs in this country embellish in favor of the Klobuchar, the law enforcement narrative, which isn't true. I would appeal to all of our folks in law enforcement. You know, you're doing more damage to things every day, so please reconsider that thin blue line or whatever it is that you protect each other. You're not protecting each other. You're actually cursing the whole idea of law enforcement. Right. Maybe it's too far gone now. I don't know. But and this is the conversation we had with Suzanne the other day about defunding the police. Well, I'm of a mixed mind. I agree that we should have, like Hunter said, citizen police. You know, how do we transition to that? How do we take the system that's already in there, and what do we do in the meantime while we're doing that as far as truly law enforcement? And I'm sure you both have some ideas on that. But
right. And, you know, we look at these citizen oversight groups that I think everybody should have, where, you know, everyday citizens are put on a panel to police the police, you know, but as far as defunding the police, you know, whatever, we've been defunding healthcare, we've been defunding education. Why the hell shouldn't they be cut? But, you know, they say, well, who will come if your house is robbed? Well, I'm poor. We don't call the cops when our house are robbed, because 9 times out of 10 we go to jail, not anybody else. So, you know, I'm mixed on this one too.
It's tough. It's tough all the way around. How did it get to this point? Why did it get to this point? Things like the crime bill that Joe Biden pushed through, could that be one of the things? So
right. Thank God his Bill of Rights didn't go through for police,
my God,
right?
the Bill of Rights for the police. We don't have Bill of Rights for the public yet. That's It's like, really, we're supposed to have a Bill of Rights, but you know, it's not there. Hunter, did you say there's like over 1,000? What would you say? Thousands of people here?
Thousands. Yeah. I mean, and as more people leave, more people show up. I mean, you know, the influx and outflux of people is more like a very popular carnival than a protest.
Wow.
It's families out here. You know what I mean? This isn't a bunch of kids marching through the streets wearing Antifa hats. This is moms and dads and children coming out of all colors and races and creeds to show that they're, you know, just as tired and fed up with the racist police forces as the black community that lives here is.
And I hope I hope everybody knows that that's not just here; it's around the world. We saw.
That's what I was just going to say.
That
sentiment is in every city right now.
Yeah, you were talking to Marcus this morning, Chanda, about that. He's in Germany, and they had the big protest. Was there other places that they were focusing on, or?
Oh, they're everywhere.
Italy, France,
Australia, New Zealand, London. The UK has a huge protest going on right now, from what I saw a few hours ago.
So we get insulated by mainstream media for the most part. They don't show or highlight as much what is going around in the whole world, because they can't control the narrative so easily there. But you think about it, it's the whole world, and this black man in Minnesota who was murdered by a cop, and the whole world reacts in the way that I think they should, and continue to do so until something is done to stop.
Right.
This,
we can't just let this be another name that's added to the list of black men who are murdered by the police, and everybody gets in an uproar for a week, and they have vigils, and then everybody goes home and they forget about it until the next news report that comes out, and then we get in an uproar for another week. This time we dig in. This time we don't back off till we see actual change and we get change. And I think that's where we are at. The everyday people of this country are fed up. We are fed up with pleading with our elected officials to change things. We are fed up with thinking that we can vote our way out of these issues. And now we're just taken to the streets. And, I love these petitions going around to remove these elected officials because it sends a message. We're done. We're done. Change it. Fix it.
Hunter, can you read that? I can't seem to get a lock on it to read the whole thing.
Well, the reason you're not going to be able to read it is because it's not a list of words. It is a list of the people who have been unjustly murdered by police.
Okay. Yeah, let me get
in our state, as far as I'm aware, and it is quite, as you can see, a long list of names. Each covered with flowers by family and friends.
And the flowers go for the whole length of the street, as far as we can see.
Yeah, from halfway up this block all the way up to the intersection where the actual memorial itself is.
Holy smokes.
Remarkable. Just remarkable. And it's sad that it takes doing this, It's so sad. But now's the time. Now's the time that even if you're not an everyday protester, if you support, which you should support, get out there, find your local every small town in America, it seems, has got at least some vigil they're holding, some moment of silence, some protest, some rally. Get out there, support your brothers and sisters, because this is what it's going to take.
Wow.
Trying to catch up with the chat real fast.
Wow. Yeah, Melissa says the guy who tried to help also pushed.
Oh, it was the same guy.
Maybe they both. I don't know. I'm going to review it again. I have a hard time even watching it.
Cops are human, and they are overcome by emotion most of the time. We see rage and we see malice. And, how many times have we seen a video where somebody did something they shouldn't have done that pissed a cop off, but then the cop's response is just, blah, they have to be trained in not being reactionary, and they are so reactionary because they're human.
Yeah, they're human. And there again, you can talk about that. The video protest.
Look at how long that is.
Yeah, that is huge. I think Melissa's got something up here. Can you read that?
Video of the protests in London, protesters throwing stuff at cops, kneeling in front of the cops. Not one baton, not one tear gas, not one projectile of any kind. Cops moving in a line to get people back with no violence. Imagine that. No tear gas, no pepper spray, no bullets. They're actually just walking and pushing people back instead of clubbing them back. That's amazing.
Yeah, that goes to our discussion yesterday on No Joke with Marcus, Dennis, and Amos and John. I just, we can do this in this country without that finite type of violence that maims people and everything. We just have to have that mindset. And, coming from military, Hunter, I don't even know how to ask you. The mindset of law enforcement hiring ex-military personnel, what, in your words, is good about that, and or what is bad about that?
Well, I think pretty much everything is bad about it. It's good for them because it lets them, minimize the amount of training necessary to get a police officer ready to go out duty and on duty, and the way that they police is almost militaristic anyway, so it's appropriate, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be easy to transition from the military to the police force, because they should be two completely separate operations that are so vastly different that you have to have different training for each career.
Right. Right. I get what you're saying.
Well, that was a very
Yeah.
that was great, Hunter. I mean, I like to hear the views of ex-military personnel on that because I can't speak to it. I just know that we've been militarizing our police forces for the last couple of decades, and it went on steroids when we invaded Iraq. So that's so there you go. Prosecute the police, RF. You know, it's spray paint. They didn't bust the window out and stuff. So
Right. Very good. You know, we hear that police only have to have 800 hours of training when a hairstylist has to have something like 1,800.
well, a journeyman clerk has to have 1,800 hours of of training to be a cashier at a grocery store. I mean, what?
Yep.
What's wrong with that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because there's a shortage, you know, it takes so much to get through. Who wants to be in that position? So yeah, they just snatch up the boys that have already been trained. And
Yeah. I think we lost Hunter there for a minute. Let me.
oh, he's connecting to audio. I can see he's connecting
Okay.
to
He's
audio.
coming back.
He's coming back.
Sorry about that. Lost internet service here for a second.
No,
No, that's all good. We
okay.
covered. So
We're
Hunter's back with us from Minneapolis. He's live on the ground.
Yeah, let me get him reframed in the shot. We always lose when they drop
So
out.
so bear with us. We're trying out something new. I want to start doing a Sunday brunch where if there's actions happening on the ground, we can have people live. So we've got Hunter Boyce, who I interviewed last week, on the ground with us.
Yeah, it's very, very, very kind of you to help us out with this, Hunter. We hope we can continue having you here and doing these kinds of interviews and corresponding.
Well, Hunter just impressed us so much. Hunter, you are so articulate and you understand and grasp what's really happening. And just our viewers loved it. So we're glad to have you. We're glad you're on the team.
Hey, I'm happy to support the cause. You know, anything that can help get the information out and show what's really going on down here that the mainstream media isn't showing. I'm more than happy to do anything I can.
We are the media. The revolution will not be televised unless it's televised by us.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. And I just want to give a shout. Hey, Al, welcome. Good to see you, Al. Al's
Good morning,
here,
Al.
And Melissa's going to duck out for a couple of minutes. We got Chuck E. Cheese up there, and we've got the faux accidental activist. I haven't seen anything else posted from that
I
person.
know, the faux accidental activist,
Yeah.
whoever you are. At least you were kind when
Yeah.
you trolled.
Yeah, Crow is here today. The
Yeah,
Bernie
hi David.
van.
David's my friend. I've known David for a long time.
Yeah.
He's out there with the Bernie van, and
Yeah.
he's always moving across the country, moving somewhere. It's hard to pin him down. I don't. Where's he at? California right now?
Yeah, I think he was in Pasadena. I think he's hanging out with Fiorella and Pasta, our friends at the
I'm
Convo
so jealous.
Couch.
I want to hang out with Fee and Pasta. That's my fam.
Yeah, I love those guys. They're great. So anyway, this is how we do it. We network with people who give a damn. You got somebody you want to interview there?
Yeah, I've actually I happened to bump into while I was down here one of the guys that was with me at the protest when the National Guard showed up.
Very good.
He's a friend of mine on Facebook. Hey man. Here, put that in real quick.
I think you're gonna have to get close to him, Hunter, because your mic is just not picking up.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
No? Yeah, my headset's not working too well for that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get you outfitted with a mic.
That's all right. I've got a little mobile one here. Just give me 1 second and I'll hook him up.
Wow,
Look
he's
at
on
this.
it, man. He's right there. Good job, dude. Yeah. Right on.
He's gonna figure it out.
Figure it out.
Can I ask you a couple questions? Just, talk at them. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, we got you.
We got you. How's it going?
If you're cutting out, I apologize.
Go ahead. We hear you.
Okay. Do you have a question or? They were trying to find a look.
Yeah, Chanda, what would you like to hear?
It's a strange world we live in with everybody having masks on nowadays, don't you think?
Yeah, it's hard. So how do you feel about the proceedings today? What's going on out there? Are you revved up to step up with people across the country, much less the world?
Oh, it sounds like we don't have audio again.
We don't have audio again.
We will work the kinks out. This is our first time trying. There we go.
Thanks anyway.
Now we got you.
I think we got you back, Hunter.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Huh.
Yeah. Now we'll
All
get
right.
we'll
Let
get
me give this one more try.
yeah.
Okay. I think your service might have just bounced. It's hard to go live from big protests because for one, you got thousands of cell phones all hitting off the same towers, and two, you normally have the stingrays out on the street.
Try one more time. See if we get you. We get you. Testing 1 2 1 2. I don't hear him. I don't know why. Why is that?
That's so weird. Why can he talk into it and we can hear him?
Maybe it's really centric to the distance to the phone. I don't know.
That's weird. Well, we'll get the kinks worked out for the next time.
We'll get him a omnidirectional shotgun mic in there.
Wow, I guess it only likes my ears.
No, it only likes your ear. It's biotech.
Oh, we tried.
It's biotech.
It's biotech, man. It's tuned to your head.
It's biotech. It only likes Hunter.
It only likes Hunter.
Sorry about that. I was trying to get him to do a little bit of an interview there, but apparently my headset just is not working on him.
Yeah, you were barely getting you. I think it's coming through your phone now.
Yeah, like I said, the problem when you start bouncing off all these cell phones and towers.
Yeah. Just keep.
Yeah.
No, we're definitely gonna get Hunter something set up. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm probably gonna whenever I can. Hunter, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, so we're probably going to let you go. We appreciate you bringing us shots of what was going on down there today. We're going to get you a better mic set up so we can actually get these interviews.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
And anytime you want to bring us anything, let me know. Pop in. We'll be in touch.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Be safe.
You stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Al Walski in the 69. The protest control I participated in was based on crowd control at Disney World. The goal was to break up the crowd in an organized fashion. Well, yeah.
Can you imagine them going through Disneyland with concussion grenades and tear gas?
Yeah, I can only imagine. that's it's insane. Again, the weapons that the police bring, the crowd control weapons, inevitably are the ones that hurt the people the most. And
right. I mean, we've seen the pictures. Has everybody seen the pictures of the bruises that people are coming home with? You know what's okay? This is the most shocking thing to me. There has been 15,000, not 100, 15,000 complaints filed against the Seattle Police Department for their aggressiveness in the last week. So this is in 1 week, 15,000 complaints.
That's just Seattle.
That's amazing. That is insane. I mean, that just speaks to how violent they are, the ones being out there on the streets. And we saw it again last night. And I got to tell you, if you haven't heard of the People's Party of Seattle, the People's Party of Seattle, which Nikita Oliver is a part of. She ran for the mayor of Seattle. This is an amazing, ethically diverse woman, just exactly the people that we want in power. And her group was out on that street. She's very active in Black Lives Matter. And we had camera feeds from every angle on the police last night. Every angle. I literally sat in bed and watched 8 different angles of the protest. And all I saw was bully police pushing peaceful protesters who had been there all day long. And when they got sick of dealing with these protesters is when the tear gas canisters started to fly. It was just like the crowd was chanting, you look tired, we're not. You look tired, we're not. So they were telling the cops, you guys look tired, go home. And the cops were tired. So they just got tired of playing around and the kettling. We have got to start dealing with the kettling too. When the cops decide that they want to come after you, and we saw this in California with Fee and their arrest, Johnny Sue, how they got kettled. We see kettling happening in Seattle. We see kettling happening in New York. We see kettling happen all over in these big cities. And what kettling is when the police strategically come at you from multiple locations and they push you. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to back you against the wall, basically. And so they will tell you to go this way. And a lot of times these people are trying to leave. They're trying to go home from these protests. And at the last minute, the police will kettle them into an alley and arrest all of them.
So what is that, like corralling, like animals?
Exactly.
That's what kettling. I was wondering, what's kettling? It sounds like corralling. So
yeah, they call it kettling. That's the official term for it. We had it used on us in Philadelphia repeatedly into 2016. I called it herding back then because I didn't know, but I felt like a herded animal being, moved around Philadelphia.
No, that's the stuff. This has got to end, no matter what angle you're coming from it. And, describing what you were visualizing last night with the several different angles of everything, it speaks for itself. No matter what they're going to tell you on the news or how they're going to lead you or whatever, seeing is believing. And I think the worst invention for law enforcement and this corporate oligarch that's running our government was the smartphone. So that by their own hand, their own greed, getting that smartphone to where we can record what's actually been going on for decades, particularly with law enforcement, has really, really opened some eyes. And I hope people don't try and pass it off as a fleeting thing, because this didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen 10 years ago. It's been going on ever since the incarnation of law enforcement in this country. And I'll argue that to my death.
Absolutely. Did you hear the excuse that the chief of the Seattle police gave for their body cams being shut off?
No. What was that excuse?
Well, these are peaceful protesters out here and we don't have the right to record them. So we have to shut our body cams off.
Excuse me? Their body cams are what the reason why they have the body cams is to, never mind. Okay.
I know, right? I was just like, that woman, she came from Boston. She's a woman of color. I think that she's probably did break some glass ceilings to get where she's at. But in order to break those glass ceilings, as we know, you end up bowing to the establishment. And she's definitely an establishment hack, just like, the mayor of Chicago. And last night, when the cops started throwing flash grenades and bangs into the crowd, and they said they didn't use tear gas, but I don't know. A lot of people said I watched live streams where people were choking and coughing, so that tells me tear gas. But she was very nervous on a Q13 live report, that local news station, and they were asking her literally on the ground, why did you guys fire on this crowd? They were peaceful for 8 hours. What changed? And she said, oh, they started throwing incendiary devices at us. But this morning, it turns out there was one prayer candle that was broken on the street. That's all the police could come up with the whole day. And last night, she couldn't even talk to what it was because they were still looking for the evidence. So who knows? Maybe they threw it on the ground just so they had something.
So
I don't put anything past the police.
So an incendiary device is a prayer candle?
Yeah, with a broken white prayer
It's not a firecracker or an M80 or anything like that. Oh, God, don't start that. That's gunfire, and they'll just mow you down.
Right. Welcome back, Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
Waited with bated breath for you to come back. So why don't we roll into a couple of let's see. Let's skip the TYT just for time. Let's do the Tim Black.
Okay. You're good on time, actually. Al Walsky, the aggressive police tactics were perfected at Standing Rock and refined at our southern border.
Damn right they were.
I tend to agree with that one, Al.
I do too, because I was at our southern border, and we were treated exactly the same. And we know Standing Rock, what they did to them.
Yeah, I absolutely. And again, we cannot let this stand, ladies and gentlemen.
And we kept saying during Standing Rock, you can't keep your mouth shut, because once they take them, they're coming for us. And that's where we're at now.
No, they can't. If you don't stand up now, we're really going to have a problem.
And where was Obama? Because remember, Standing Rock happened during Obama's administration. Yeah, he literally left that trash like on Trump's desk, like, here, I don't want to touch it, you deal with it. And he ignored Standing Rock, basically.
You don't want to get me started on President Obama, because some folks in here might not appreciate what I have to say, and I'll back up every inch of it. Here we go with Tim Black.
Right, me too. So we're going to talk NFL. Now, I know progressives do not like to talk about the NFL. And, as I was a huge football fan for many, many years. I grew up as an American kid watching football with my dad and my brothers, and I helped coach Little League football, so I've always been, and of course I got sucked into fantasy football. I'm a 3-time fantasy football champion.
Me too. Me too. I got a back-to-back in there.
I am one of those rare women who actually understands the game. I understand the penalties. I understand the calls. And I watch I should say, because ever since 2016 and 2017, I have really pulled away from the NFL. I see it for the corporate, charade that it actually is. But, we can't deny the NFL's racist. They've always been racist. But as a woman, the reason I stepped back from the NFL and supporting the NFL was because they allowed so much domestic violence to go uncalled out by these men. And
Huge.
That was my biggest reason for backing off. But even more, I'm a Seahawk fan. So the rivalry against Kaepernick, Colin Kaepernick, and the 49ers, that's our rival. That's our regional rival, is the 49ers and Seattle. So watching Kaepernick come up at the same time as Russell Wilson, and they're phenomenal quarterbacks. If you think that Kaepernick's not a good quarterback, you haven't been watching the game and you don't know the game, because he is an amazing quarterback. And to have him completely ran out of the NFL, this was racially charged. This was racially profiling him. And he deserves to sue the NFL and win a shit ton of money, all the money he should have ever made in his lifetime. It's horrible what they did to him. And for me to have changed my position on that, because, hey, our team had to beat their team, but it became about politics for me. It didn't, football ended. So I want to run this clip. I lived in New Orleans for a long time. Drew Brees was my quarterback for a while. So let's hear what he has to say about the racial tensions in this country.
Now, this is Tim Black at 3:05 to 4:30 or 4.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
No. This one, I think we're going to run from the start.
Is it Tim Black?
Yeah, Tim Black, we're running from the start.
Okay, Tim Black, we're going to run from the start. Glad I asked. Okay, here we go.
The New Orleans Saints, they have a quarterback by the name of Drew Brees. A few years ago, they won the Super Bowl. And Drew Brees, I think he got the trophy for VIP, player MVP. That's the MVP trophy or something. So anyway, great team, very competitive. They've been very competitive ever since then. Amazing turnaround for this franchise. Well, I don't know what possessed Drew Brees or what's wrong with Drew Brees, but he made some comments when asked a question on Yahoo Finance. I don't know why Yahoo Finance is interviewing football players about protests, but hey, everybody wants to get into the talk about news thing, So anyway, here goes Drew Brees, his comments that set off a firestorm. Unfortunately, because Yahoo Finance or Turner Sports blocked my video because they didn't want me to use the clip of Drew Brees actually talking, I'm going to have to read you his statement. Now, this is not the whole statement. He said a little bit more, and I'll tell you when that is. But here goes what we have. When Brees was asked about the prospect of NFL players kneeling next year, he said in part, per Yahoo Finance, "I would never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played, and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my two grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try to make our country and this world a better place. So every time I stand with my hand over my heart, looking at that flag and singing the national anthem, that's what I think about." He also said something about crying and makes his tears well up, and he begins to cry whenever he thinks about this sacrifice. He goes on to say, "And is everything right with our country right now? No, it's not. We still have a long way to go, but I think what you do by standing there and showing respect to the flag with your hand over your heart is it shows unity. It shows that we're all in this together. We can all do better, and that we are all part of the solution."
You can cut it there.
Woo.
Unless you want to hear what Tim has to say. If you want to hear what Tim has to say about this, because Tim goes on an amazing rant about it, please go watch the clip on Tim Black Live. Yeah. What do you think of that, Oz? You still respect Drew Brees?
Well, I respect his right to say what he says, but to respect him for what he said, hell no. Honest to God, and during the national anthem, you're not required socially to hold your hand over your heart or anything like that. It's the Pledge of Allegiance. I haven't done the Pledge of Allegiance for 4 or 5 years now because when Justice for All we aren't getting injustice for all, so there's no need for me to stand up and pledge allegiance to a flag for an oath that is not being carried out by our country. So there you go. Sorry, folks. I'll kneel all day long in protest, and you can do whatever to me, but no, that's how I'm at.
Right. You know, I lived in the South for some time, just outside of outside of Baton Rouge. So, you know, we called them the Aints back then because they weren't a winning team in the 90s or even the early 2000s.
Yeah, the Aints.
The Aints, they were the Aints, you know, but they were the only team. We were more into LSU, you know, college ball than we were anything. And most of them are down there. But the racial cultural differences that I experienced down living in the South were eye-opening. They were shocking. They were jolting. You know, I had grown up in a small Washington state town. We didn't have racism. Racism was something that Oprah talked about on TV in the 80s, you know. And we were a military town, so we had a good fair share of people of color in our town. But it was when I moved down there and I went to the doctor the first time, and there was 2 separate waiting rooms, that I was like, what the hell is that? You know, and it was when I was told, well, the people of color live in the next town over. They don't live in our town. And that's not how I was raised. So, you know, my daughter and her friends need a ride home. Of course, I'm going to give the little boy a ride home, but then I'm attacked by the community because we don't mix races around here. You don't help that community. You don't go around that community. And I was an outsider because I was a Northern Yankee. That's what they called me, a Yankee.
You Yankees?
I didn't even know Yankees still existed. I was like, that's something like Yankee Doodle Dandy.
That's what they call us in Scotland. We're Yanks. So
yeah. So it was a cultural shock. And I came home from there 3 years later, very much believing that racism was alive and well in the United States and that it had not ever gone away. Like I had been taught in school and like I had been raised to believe and led to believe by the media. And so it really opened my eyes. And so for Drew to be saying these things, it's not shocking to me. This is pretty much every country boy in the South is like this, you know, that I encountered. They put some kind of association with the military and our flag. Like you have to, you know, you're being unpatriotic if you don't support this. Well, let me tell you, you know, I am so sick and tired of the far right and the right co-opting our flag, our symbols in this country. And it's time that we start fighting back and taking them back. You know, we have every right to that flag as they do. And if we want to kneel to it, which I think is even more of a sign of respect than standing, then we have every right to do that. And, you know, every day we have another clip for NFL is racist. That's what I titled this segment. The NFL is racist. We have another clip of the commissioner, Rorger Goodell, talking about how they're no longer going to put up with racism in this country. But, you know, I just got to ask, if every single person of color that's in the NFL, if every black man said, no, I ain't going out and playing this year, what would happen to these sports leagues?
All right, we're going to run this clip. This is the 305 to...
yeah, I mean, we don't want to listen to Jinx and Anna.
No. Anna, eat some fiber, will you? You look a little peaked.
A little uptight.
I want to quickly go to his video because Brett grabbed it, and I want to hear, you know, the entirety of his statement. So let's take a quick look.
It has been a difficult time for our country, in particular, Black people in our country. First, my condolences to the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and all the families who have endured police brutality. We, the National Football League, condemn racism and the systematic oppression of Black people. We, the National Football League, admit we were wrong for not listening to NFL players earlier and encourage all to speak out and peacefully protest. We, the National Football League, believe Black Lives Matter. I personally protest with you and want to be part of the much needed change in this country. Without Black players, there would be no National Football League.
Right.
And the protests around the country are emblematic of the centuries of silence, inequality, and oppression of Black players, coaches, fans, and staff. We are listening. I am listening. And I will be reaching out to players who have raised their voices and others on how we can improve and go forward for a better and more united NFL family.
Tell that to your owners, Mr. $40 million a year man.
He doesn't work. I mean, he works for the team owners. The team, he's their man. He is not the players' man. And we've seen this time and time again. If you actually follow the NFL, everything he said there was just hilarious because we know it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, he should have been gone years ago. The guy is just a tool, and he's getting paid $40 million a year.
Yeah, he drips of corruption.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. And, you know, these owners have been so overtly racist time and time again. I mean, it's horrendous, but, you know.
Who pushed Cap out of the league? The owners or the commissioner?
The owners did. I mean, the owners did, and you know, Goodell was just their henchman doing that. So, you know, when we look at these, when did they militarize the NFL? Was it in the 90s or the early 2000s?
Right, and they actually get paid for that. I noticed, Melissa, you were talking about that in the chat. I didn't get the actual what you said, but you're right. They throw these big military days for the NFL, and you know who covers the cost of those? It's the taxpayers who cover the cost of that.
That's your promotion of the military-industrial complex. They pay them big bucks to have their military type things. Didn't we used to have high school bands at the NFL and specific groups? And then all of a sudden it's attention, you know, all this stuff. And you're sure, but don't co-opt the whole sport for the benefit of your propaganda. Smedley Butler, remember what he said? War is a racket. Well, that's what it is, and our government has been co-opted by the corporate oligarchs, and the NFL are part of that oligarchy.
You nailed that one. I love Smedley Butler quotes. Thank you. You know, yeah, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. If you're watching the NFL, hey, I get it. It is entertaining, but, you know, look at it with a grain of salt. You know, these guys are exploited just like anybody else that are there, especially the people of color. So let's move on to my slide deck. We're going to do a week in review, just a few things that I've, you know, reported on this week, came across this week, and we're kind of changing up Sunday. Sunday's just going to be a laid back brunch, whatever I feel like on you. So
yeah,
we're going to do our in-depth investigative reports on Thursdays.
Thursdays, yes. And we are going to start loading premium content on Rockfin. So go over there, sign up for free, check it out. And we got a lot of exciting things happening. So what is this first slide, Chanda?
Okay, so this was last Tuesday. So this was kind of the kickoff to all of this. We have Hunter Boyce's video or picture from the Minneapolis police station that was burned to the ground, Precinct 3. Well, it wasn't burned to the ground, but they gutted it. And then, of course, we have Hollywood, the Star Walk of Fame. Is that what it's called?
Walk of Shame. What are those?
Walk of Shame. Look at all that military.
Is that National Guard? That has to be.
It is the National Guard.
It's not militarized police. The militarized police wear the black outfits with the fancy.
Yeah, I don't think they're actually in California. I think it's all National Guard in California.
Okay, so those guys are wearing their desert gear down there in California, which is going to be a desert one of these days.
Yeah, it is kind of a desert landscape.
You'll have to cue me on the slides. So.
Okay, well, you can go move to the next one.
Okay, there you go.
This one is Boston police unloading bricks at a protest. And then we have, I believe it's a Boston police again, beating the crap out of their own police cruiser.
Oh, yeah. This was a good one. They were spray painting nasty shit on it, busting out the windows. These were the cops. This was not a staged event by
No, it wasn't
protest.
Staged like Facebook is trying to say. And you can actually see there's a police officer standing on the hood with a sledgehammer smashing out the window.
Yeah, if that's a movie set, then you've got me, but it isn't. So
there was too much live feed that came out of there. So the next slide is...
Yeah, this is a good
one.
Oh,
I love this. The nurses. So it said nurses fought COVID and now we'll fight the police.
Yeah.
I love that. And then we have Asians for Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. And then justice is 400 years overdue. And we can't agree more. Next slide. And this is the Golden Gate Bridge yesterday.
Holy
Some of you may have heard.
Wow. They shut it down, huh?
They shut it down. I was so excited when I heard they were taking it. Like, yes.
Yeah, it's hard enough to get through there on a regular work day.
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, traffic sucks there anyway.
Yeah,
So
gee, Merry Christmas. Oh. And this one?
And then the next protest, this was Philadelphia yesterday.
Holy smokes. The heads are there. That was more than showed up at Trump's inauguration, I think.
I think you're right. But Trump would beg to differ with you.
Oh, I'm sure. Let's get the cropped angle lens on this. So
right. And compare it. We'll compare it to the protest they had the day before.
Oh, there's some of those militant protesters. What the heck? Who are those people?
This is 3 generations of protesters in my family out this week. So this is myself, my oldest daughter, and my oldest granddaughter.
Oh, cool.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate it so much.
Al, thanks so much. We appreciate that. Yeah. Will somebody match Al, please? Yeah, well, I'll match you. I'll match you for sure, Al.
I keep hearing the windshield removal argument so they could see and drive, but I watched a long time into that video and I'm not buying that.
On what? That police cruiser?
On that police cruiser. Because why were they tagging it?
Yeah.
Like, okay, if they're going to bust the windows out to see, why are they spray painting the back? What is that for?
Yeah, I mean,
so they fit in?
They want to see in the rearview mirror so they make sure nobody sneaks up on them, I guess. I know. It's always, and this is where the argument, it's on YouTube, so it's not legitimate. Well,
Melissa, thank you, sweetie. She matched it.
Melissa, thank you. Thank you, guys. It's more helpful than you can imagine. I'm having to replace my workstation this week, and it's a pretty penny, but we want to
it is a pretty penny for Oz. He's been fighting to keep it up.
But I'm not taking it out of what you guys donate. What you guys donate goes straight away to Uphill Media so we can get more shows going and everything else. When I have to buy a workstation or a piece of equipment, I do my best to make sure that I get in my cookie jar to do it, because what else?
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, so that's the last slide there. Where are we going now, the serious blonde lady?
Well, you guys have been so patient with us. Well, we tried our little experiment on the ground today, and I just want to thank you guys so much for that. And so Sunday brunches are going to be just like this, just kind of a hodgepodge of whatever we come up with, whatever we want to talk about. Melissa, I got to thank you for being in the chat every day. Even the little bit of pushback you give us, it really helps. So you guys, don't be afraid to push back. If you think what I'm saying is bullshit, tell me. I want to hear it.
Yeah, we're not a choir here. We want people to vet what we say and offer opinions that aren't. We had that discussion yesterday on No Joke. So, yeah, just.
I'm excited about No Joke. So I'm going to announce to you guys, guess what? I've been invited to join the boys over at No Joke. So next Saturday, 10 a.m., join me, and I'm not actually sure who else is going to be on there. Who else is going to be on there?
I don't know, Marcus? But yours truly is going to be engineering, that's for sure. So we've got Dennis, Marcus, and Amos, and now I think we've got Chanda, the accidental activist, in there.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we need the girls to come in and join the boys from Germany, and Amos, he's in New York, so that's great. We're getting more and more shows up and running. Like I said, it's terrific.
Well, what I am excited about is actually hearing different points of view. Hearing what they're saying, from Europe. I think it's so important not to be pigeonholed into this United States state of mind, right?
Yeah, I think it's indicative that we look everywhere on the planet. We're not doing our job unless we do it internationally, and this was why I've always advocated to Uphill Media. It's not just about us. It's about all of us on this planet. Global warming, global climate disaster, health care for everybody. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Global human rights.
Global
human rights. So at this time, we're going to roll out with an awesome song and bid you guys farewell, tell you to have an excellent Sunday. And you know what? Get out there, get your boots on the ground, and be peaceful. Protect people, be the helpers. And get up, stand up, because that's what we're going to hear right now.
Get up, stand up. Thanks, everybody. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on with you, Chanda. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on, Oz. And we will see you tomorrow for the Daily Dive at 10 a.m.
Daily Dive with Chanda, Oz, and Rhonda.
Yay.
To the rebel and the lion, take a trot among Zion. See these headshots, good herb, good music, good love. Watch out. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Now you wanna say no. Get up, stand up. hurt, and now you see the light. You got to stand up for your rights, right.
Get up, stand up.
Well,
Stand up for your
you
rights.
have to hear what the people say.
Get up, stand up.
Gaddafi, go aside.
Don't give up the fight.
Don't give it up.
Get up, stand up.
I'm gonna say I know.
Stand up for your rights.
Stand up for your right.
Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight.
Watch now. Preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. I know you